holding you back? Holding you back from touching the sky? What's holding you back? You gotta fly like an eagle and go high. But what's holding you back? Holding you back from touching the sky? Oh, holding you back. You finally gotta reach for the sky. I was born to succeed, not to be a spoke in the wheel. Told myself there's more to this than just waking up when I feel. So I made a commitment to turn my earnings up. Couldn't see myself as an employee that still couldn't. Looked in the mirror, saw a spark in my eye. Knew I had to hustle and stop living a lie. I packed my dreams in a suitcase, took the first train out, headed for the horizon with success is no doubt. What's holding you back? Holding you back from touching the sky? What's holding you back? You gotta fly like an eagle and go high. What's holding you back? Holding you back from touching the sky? Oh, holding you back. You finally gotta reach for the sky. Stumbling blocks.
Good evening. Yes, my apologies. We had a little technical issues there, but hopefully you are hearing us. So please, if you are able to hear and see the live, please leave us a comment. I want to make sure we are coming across. 1 second. I just want to check something real quick. See if we are on Okay. All right. Yes, we look like we are good to go. So, greetings and welcome once again to another edition of What's Holding You Back. My name is Rob McCray from the Business Building Network, and we are awaiting my wonderful co host, Christine Allen from Clear Ambitions, as she will be jumping on in just a minute. But yes, we're going to be having a wonderful discussion today as we're going to be talking about are your subconscious beliefs about money holding you back and not allowing you to live the type of lifestyle in which you have envisioned for yourself? And as we speak, Christine Allen has joined us. Greetings, my sis. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. What's holding you back? Nothing, right?
All
That's the
right.
thing. Happy to be here with you, Rob. Hello, everyone there on YouTube.
Yes, so good to have you with us, Christine. Yes, we're going to have a wonderful discussion today as we're going to be talking about are your subconscious beliefs holding you back from your relationship with money? So yes, that's going to be our topic for discussion for today, and we are looking forward to having this meeting of the minds, so to speak, and so we
Mhm.
can um, come against some of those beliefs that we may have and stereotypes and things that we think about money and some negative thoughts that we may have about money, I should say. And we want to try to debunk some of those things and get a better understanding and a better mindset, a better relationship when it comes to having money and how to use it in the most advantageous way.
Good, good, good. So the topic is quite deep, and I know we have just over 25 minutes with this discussion, but your relationship with money, where does it all begin? And
Hmm.
is it you're born with the relationship or you taught the relationship? And you're definitely taught the relationship. So
Absolutely.
it's not a question, yeah, Rob, it's not a question of whether or not, oh, you're a born leader or you're made leader. Well, when it comes to the psychology of money, it's something you're taught.
Hmm.
Something you're taught. And 90%, okay, 80% is visual. It's not audio. So no one sat you down and said, this is how you do it. One, two, three. You watch your parents, you watch your grandparents, you watch your environment. A lot of the hustle and the grind, if you will, of how to navigate around I would say street culture, because
Hmm.
there's a lot of culture mentality around money. The money equals status. Now, not only in the street culture, but also, within corporate culture, what the case may be, money equals status. Money does not equal character. We all know that, right? Money
Correct.
doesn't make you, but your character. However, your relationship with money. Some people, as soon as they get it, they spend it. They don't want to do
Hmm.
nothing. They don't want anything to do with it. They're so used to not having that when they do have it, they don't know what to. So there's a default. Yeah,
Right.
everyone has a default limit. There's a limit, and it's not just in your bank account, but it's in your heart and it's in your mind. And it's you have to really dig deep and find out why is it that I can only go thus far,
Yes.
even though I get a bonus, even
Hmm.
though I get a couple of new clients. Somehow, some way, it's the clock turns. I end up right back in that spot.
Yes. So that's why we're having this discussion this evening, this afternoon, this morning, depending on where in the world you are watching us from. But we're going
Mhm,
to change. We're going to attempt to change, I should say,
mhm.
that mindset and our belief about money and how our finances are not being retained in the manner in which they should. So, before we go any deeper into that, let us share our inspirational quote for today, and then we will get more into our discussion for today. So, Christine, if you will.
Money won't make you happy, but everybody wants to find out for themselves. I like that, Zig Ziglar.
Yes,
Money won't make you happy, but everyone wants to find out for themselves. Okay.
yes, yes. And like the saying says, money cannot buy you happiness. And if you look at a lot of the wealthy people in the world, uh, you will come to have the realization that many of them are very miserable with themselves and in the life in which they are living. So it just, clearly insinuates that, money is not going to be the cure in helping you to find happiness. So where does that happiness come from? It comes from within.
Mhm.
The money that you are able to accumulate is only going to show or reinforce a person's true character. And it's just going to come out even more because you're more in the spotlight now. Everybody's watching you and they see what you're all about. And a prime example is, the man that's in the White House now, along with his shadow president, Elon Musk, some of the richest people in the world. But when you look at them, they really are living a miserable lifestyle. There's no happiness within them. They are very shallow. They are not living a life that they want to live. They can never find happiness or gratification no matter how much money they make. There is still a void in their life and making them feel like there has to be more. So what do? They just try to find more and more ways to accumulate more money, even if they're taking from the poor and giving back unto the rich, because they're looking for something. They're looking for a way to find that happiness. And they think it's going to come from accumulating more wealth. But that is not so.
Mhm. And there's the opposite side of the spectrum where we have folks that are addicted to losing. So, what do I mean by that? There are
Hmm.
folks that as soon as they win, they find some way to let it go because
Yes.
they find comfort. There's a self sabotage dynamic, and we're not psychologists. Full disclaimer, we're not psychotherapists. We're folks that have lived some life. Been around a couple of mountains, and we're here to share,
That's right.
right? So in regards to the opposite dynamic of folks that are the lovers and hoarders of stuff of things,
Mhm.
they're the polar dynamic opposite of that are folks that just they can't help it. They're so hurt. They're hurting, like you said. There's emptiness inside. There's something missing, and they express that by self destruction.
Yes.
So either side of the polar, other side of the pole, it's not happy. It's not a happy, situation either way. Now there are some situations that they say that finances is a part or one of the biggest reasons for divorces. And I was like,
Mhm.
why would anyone want to divorce and split up? They're in love. What's the money got to do with it, right? And it's not so much the money, but the attitude behind it,
Mhm.
the intent behind it, whether one person's a spender and one person's a saver, but there's a lot of personalities that just the saying is, Rob, money doesn't um, change you; it exposes you.
True. Very true.
So a lot
Yeah.
of times when you do get opportunity, we get a windfall of money, or you don't have any money. What is your attitude? Is like you said, there's other things in life. And a lot of times we have money is associated with bad and greed and so forth, which is really, I think, a hoodwink for folks who have it to get you to stay away from it.
Mhm.
So you want to accumulate it. Um, so when it comes to races and different cultures, money also the attitude towards money differs as well.
It
There are
does.
folks that yeah, there are folks that live less in the now in this
Mhm.
generation because there's a responsibility for the next generation. So even if you have it, You're not going to spend all of it because you have to put aside X amount for your grandchildren. You're not talking about your children. You're talking about your children's children. So,
Yes.
so there is a dynamic where folks will have it, but they don't spend it because it's a part of the culture, part of the norm, if you will, the village mentality of you don't spend everything, you don't use all your grains of rice in this season, you save it and you and love it forward. And so that's how some folks will inherit a house, and that house is so solid you don't need to sell that house, you don't need to pay mortgage, you don't need to pay rent because your great grandfather has land and I think down south in the US is a great example of that. Now what changes is how you live. We're no longer in agricultural, because even though you have all those acres, you don't want to go get up 5 before crack of dawn and go dig the ground and till and sow and all that, even though it's worth. But what are you going to do, right? You'd rather do you have a different lifestyle from what you inherited. So that being said, the attitude of money, just back to culture once more, the attitude of money has a lot to do with your culture as well.
Absolutely. And there's a scripture in the Bible that says, the love of money is the root of all evil. And many people take that out of context. It says
Oh,
the love of money, not
oh,
having money. For God wants
mm,
us to have money in abundance to supply all of our needs. But
mm,
when you have that love and lust for money, and you will
mm,
do anything to accumulate it, that's when you fall into problems. And then you open up yourself to become used by the enemy to do things that are not of God's will. What shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his soul? So
mhm,
you have to be very mindful of what you're doing and how your transactions or your dealings are affecting the lives of others. If you
right,
have to step on someone to get ahead, then no, you shouldn't be doing that. That is not God's will. That is not his
right.
plan for you in your life. We should be uplifting one another, not holding anyone back.
And I think when it comes, well said, Rob, and when it comes to the mindset, again, how you're taught to save, what you do with your savings, and how you are you taught to lend. There's folks that come and they're habitual borrowers. They know that you have it, so they'll ask to pull on your heartstrings. They come with a script, right? Sometimes the script starts with a facial expression, the puppy eyes, or they do something, soften it up, and then they come right in with a what do you call it, the okey doke, or they call it with whatever. They come in with a script, and they say, okay, and if you know that you have that giving heart, you can't say no to cause, and then you find out. So the one of the principles that I was taught is don't lend anything you can't lose. You can't afford to lose.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. That's one I tend to live by myself. Yeah,
Is
if
that
I can't
right?
afford to lose it, then I can't lend it out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And so if you're looking at principles of, even when you do lend out, you find that that's one of the downfalls. And this is something we can all do a checklist, internal checklist, is we talk about, you get a windfall of money, but that you end up lottery winners. I can't believe it. End up straight back, right with square one or worse.
Yep.
What happened? You
Hmm.
have a thermometer, you have a mindset, and so important on what's holding you back, that we continue to talk about the mindset, your internal thermometer of where your vision. If you
Hmm.
don't have a vision, you're just going to be stuck. You're going to be rich and stuck, and your subconscious is going to say, no, this is not you, you don't feel comfortable, right? And eventually you're going to self-destruct and get back to that same spot that you were in before. If you have someone who is, some folks are rich, you don't know they're rich. And what does rich mean? Rich means 6 7 figures nowadays, folks are talking about. They're about 6 figures, right? And so if you're rich but then you don't drive a certain car, no one would know. So folks will hide their money, and that's again taught. right?
Right.
You grew up in adverse poverty. You never want to be that hungry again. So you make sure that you have this fear that you're going to lose it if you don't keep it.
Hmm. Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And hide it. Hmm.
Yeah. And I like what you said, especially about that person's who go out and win the lottery, and then after a year or two, they end up coming right back to square one, where they're broke, and they might be even in a worse situation where they were before they
Hmm.
actually won the lottery, and
Hmm.
that comes from that mindset and belief that we have about money, and we, instead of making plans and preparations
Hmm.
to invest that money into something that's going to continuously work for us. We want
Hmm.
to buy and accumulate things that are going to become a liability, meaning
Right.
that they're not going to add any value to your life or your children's life,
Hmm.
but it's just going to diminish in its actual value. So you need to be creating or investing into assets that are going to continuously bring in more money to you, your children, and for many generations to come. But that goes back to um, having the right mindsets and
Hmm.
being taught, you know, how to use money to work for you, not you always having to go out to work for money. So that is the key. We have to get the proper training and education that we need to instill those values within ourselves
Hmm.
and pass it down to our kids, our communities, and all of the generations to come, so that we all know how to make that money work for us and keep recycling, because money is nothing more than currency. It's a transfer of energy, as some people may say.
Hmm.
But when you really look at it, it's constantly flowing from one hand to another, from one business to another, from one entity to another. It's currency, it's constantly moving. And when we come into a place where, sad to say, but looks like we're going to be going into a recession now, this is going to stop that flow of the currency, of the money.
Right.
And that's going to lead to the economy going down. And then when that happens, businesses are not going to be able to make enough money to sustain their staff. So what are they going to do? They're going to have to start letting go some of their employees. So what
Hmm.
happens when they let go of their employees? Now they're out of work. Now they can't pay their bills. Now they can't pay their mortgage. And then eventually they're going to lose their house. And what happens? So now the bank is not getting any money for these mortgages that they have out there. So what's going to happen to the banks? You're going to see banks start to collapse. And then what? Then the government is going to have to give them a bailout. And then what's going to happen? So now the economy is getting so bad. So now they have to send out stimulus checks to the people, to us. Why? Because we have to keep the currency moving, the money
Okay.
moving, the economy
Hmm.
moving. If nobody has money to spend, the economy is stagnant. Nothing moves, nothing grows, nothing flourishes. Everything is
Yes.
standstill. So then when they
Hmm.
send out these stimulus checks to us, the people, to get the economy back going, what's going to happen then? So now the Fed is printing out money to have money in our hands so we can stimulate the economy back. But now, don't think that just by them printing out this money, we're not going to have to pay it back. So now that's where
Hmm.
inflation comes back into play again. So
Um,
as I'm quite sure you remember, when we went through COVID and they sent out those stimulus checks, what happened
mhm.
right after that? Inflation skyrocketed, and it's
Right,
going to
right, right.
again when the economy
Hmm.
They're going to send out these stimulus checks again. They have to get the economy back going. They have to
Right.
get people spending again. But you're going to pay it back through inflation. And we haven't recovered back from the inflation from COVID. And now we're going to go into it again. And the price is going to rise even more.
Wow. It's time to prepare. It's time to prepare.
Yeah.
It is preparation time and check-in time.
Mm-hmm.
On, if they say cutting the fat, things that you really don't need, look at the necessities of life,
Yes.
and preservation, how you look at money, how you think of money. Yes, ACAN Healthcare says money answers all things. And so it's likened onto, if you have money, then you have influence. You have
True.
influence, and
Mm-hmm.
influence is leadership. Influence is also power.
It
So
is.
when you have an opportunity to save, let's save strategically. Let's save where you have the highest interest, or save in a safe place. And as you just said, maybe sometimes not everywhere you think is safe, because
Gotcha.
institutions are asking for bailouts.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to look at it on a holistic way. But how do you get to the point where you're disciplined enough? Because a lot of the results when you come talks about discipline. So if you
Mm-hmm.
look at your life and say, again, trimming the fat, do you really need X amount of shoes? Do you need all these, various outfits? Do you need anything that's extra,
Yeah.
that's a fringe benefit, you would say, in life? It's,
Mm-hmm.
it's time to really look at those items. And it's a time in the cycle. It's going to come back up again. It's a real, if you look at the patterns, right? What goes up must come down, and you
Right.
have that pattern. So just look at the pattern where we are economically, and look at the pattern where you are as well. If you are down, you're going to come back up.
Mm-hmm.
It's the law of gravity. If you stay down for a long period of time, then get a financial advisor. Can't emphasize enough. Your financial advisor is not your friend. Your financial advisor is definitely someone who has an unbiased look at your finances, and not
Right.
only your finances, but something called assets.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes some of us have life insurance, and there's assets in our life insurance that we're not aware of,
Yes.
right? Even if you don't own a house, there's different assets. There's various assets you might have. You might be sitting on. Just speaking to my husband a couple of weeks ago about coin collections. I found myself a 19, was it 68 or 78 penny?
Mm-hmm.
Very unique. Um, I think it says it's worth $1,700. It's just a penny,
Get out of
but
here.
yeah. So then I just went off. I said, "Hey, there's actually such a thing as coin collectors. I forgot about that." There's folks. If you have a dollar bill that's out of circulation, the
Right.
U.S. used to print $2 bills. If you have a U.S. $2 bill, well, you're sitting on more than $2. Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes grandma, grandpa, it puts those things away.
Oh
If you
yeah.
have a car, a jar full of coins, especially
I know.
once more, if it's coming from generations back, start looking at the dates, and there's certain coins um,
You're right.
that have a symbol on them, and that's worth it. So Google it. We have some China that's stamped European China. So there are
Mm.
things that are in your house, or things, generations, that someone gifted you an item, certain clocks, watches, and so forth. Do not give your gold to the jewelry guy that's going to give you a couple of dollars. I don't know, if folks will know what I'm talking about. They advertise all the time,
Right.
gold, we buy your gold. No, please, I can't emphasize enough how I should have bought gold when I had it to buy gold. Do not sell your gold.
Okay.
Your
Okay.
10 carat, 20, they don't have 20 carats anymore, but 14 carats, right?
Right.
10 carat, 12 carats, they have a 12 carat. Do not sell, for love or money, don't sell your gold. And
Okay.
yeah, that is the biggest hoodwink.
Really.
Why do they
Wow.
want it?
Mm.
Melt it down and makes gold bars.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
worth. Look at the stock market, what gold is worth.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my tidbit. That's what I know from my own personal experience with your gold, maybe silver too, but yeah, don't do it.
Yes. Excellent, Christine. And yes, definitely. Gold is the standard now, and as the dollar continues to the U.S. dollar, speaking of, continues to lose value, um, gold is going to be a hot commodity that
Mm-hmm.
um, you really should look into investing into, and create some other investment strategies for yourself, and have a broad portfolio, so to speak. Don't be locked into just one or two items. Um, do your due diligence, and like Christine said, get you a financial analysis, or what it was, a financial
Advisor, financial
advisor.
advisor. Yes.
Yeah, maybe
And
help you out with
sorry,
that.
go ahead. Hmm.
Go ahead.
I was saying that just in closing, one of the things that you might take for granted, but we all need in this time of the season, a freezer. There's no
Ooh,
reason why. But yeah, a freezer.
right.
If we're going into, and even from the winter in North America here, going into the summer,
Hmm.
you have vegetables, you know, some fruits you can freeze, but there's absolutely no reason for you to have anything spoiling in your house. If you have a freezer, utilize it. I
Yes,
can't
indeed.
emphasize it enough. That is, preserving your funds, but then you're plugging holes. And I would
Mm,
say, so you have a bucket, and some of the holes in your bucket is just wastage of food,
that's right.
wasting of what else? What other are you wasting, right? That you could be conservative about. So the freezer.
Yeah, yeah. And if you know, like I know, you better start freezing up some food, because there is so much going on now with agriculture and the prices of getting food now. They're talking about being shortages on that. So, as Christine said, get your gardens together, freeze up whatever you can, and keep it, canned up for those rainy days. So, in the
And
event that, mhm,
sorry, I'm speaking out loud. Sorry, Rob.
that's fine.
No, I was thinking folks might think, oh, they're being tight. That's really tight freezer. You're gonna freeze your strawberries. You're gonna freeze your peaches, and so it's not about that. You know what it is? It's quality.
Yes.
Honestly, some of the restaurants I've been to, and God bless them, everyone's doing their best. But some
Mm,
of the quote unquote high end restaurants and all that, the food is if you're gonna eat out
mhm,
and the food is so so, and ladies will know what I'm talking about. You could do better at home.
right.
Then freeze your food. At least you can balance something out. But
Right.
it doesn't make any sense to be, for an event, an experience, if you will, to a nice restaurant, and you know that the quality is not there. So
Hmm.
unless it's, celebrating someone's event, wedding, or for birthday and all that. But that's just my 2 cents on that as well. Um, a lot of folks, like myself, we like to go out to different restaurants and sample. Um, and so forth, which is fine, right? But there's a time and a place for it, and you don't overindulge
Right.
if you can help it. It,
Hmm.
it doesn't make any. You're not going to get the same value. A lot of things are just not the same as far as the quality. I could go on about other things you can do about around the house as well, but I won't. Um, just talking about attitudes and mindsets of money. And I'll just share for myself my mindset, and you can maybe share if you'd like as well, Rob. But my mindset of money is that I don't never wanted to deal with money.
Mm.
Never wanted to deal with money. It's funny enough, I ended up being a business consultant, but didn't want to deal with it, didn't want to argue about it because that was the atmosphere when I was a child, right?
So, where did that mindset come from?
When I was a child, there's arguments about money, and I was like, I'm not going to do it. I
Yeah.
just here, just take it and go, kind of thing.
Right.
At the end of the day, it doesn't serve anyone to have that
Mm-hmm.
fully. You know what I mean? That because then you end up, if you'd imagine, you end up, just being what is it? That guy called Daddy Warbucks or something? What's that? I'm thinking about trying to do an analogy here. Yeah. So we didn't want anything to do with it. So you just trust everyone else with your money.
Right. So
Right.
that goes back to our topic of this discussion, our
Hmm.
subconscious beliefs about
Yeah.
money that stem from our childhood days. Something happened in our past that makes us feel the type of way that we do about
Hmm.
until we have an intervention or um, come to some type of understanding
Hmm.
of what money really is and how we can use it to our advantage and to the advantage of others. So we have to shift that mindset when we have a negative belief or thoughts
Hmm.
about money and how it's going to work in our lives, then we have to have that renewing of the mind, a transformation, so to speak, so that we don't carry that same negative stigma around with us. And
Hmm.
really, it impacts us in a negative way in how we deal with having and retaining money.
Well said. So when I realized that that was what my challenge was, I started giving money to charities.
Okay.
And that's the best decision ever,
Okay.
giving your money to charities. You
Hmm.
can't emphasize enough the it's and in that you're talking about a cycle, not only from just the law of the the giving and the taking and so forth, the giving and receiving rather. Um, you also have the recycling of when you do your tax receipts. You can also, when your tax return, you can also benefit from that as well, because the IRS,
Yeah.
CRA here in Canada, and
Hmm.
IRS in the US and so forth recognize that, okay, you give a portion or you save a portion of your income and you get a tax break for that as well. Certainly
Right.
don't give because of tax breaks, you give to a worthy cause, but nevertheless you see that's what you call smart giving.
All right. Excellent. So we're going to close it off with that. Yes, you have to give in order to receive. So we just want to thank each and every one of you for joining us for this latest edition here on What's Holding You Back. So, on behalf of Christine Allen from Clear Ambitions, my name is Rob McCrae from the Business Building Network. And if you have not already done so, we want to encourage you to go over to both of our YouTube channels and please subscribe. Christine's YouTube channel is Clear Ambitions, and my YouTube channel is Rob McCrae Networking. So, once again, we thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday for the next edition of What's Holding You.
We'll see you next week. Bring a friend.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.